Hello. For today, let's talk about a research entitled, Understanding Executive Presence, Filipino Manager's Perspective. Content of this presentation will be as follows. 1. Introduction. 2. Theoretical and conceptual frameworks. 3. Methodology. 4. Results. 5. Discussion. 6. Recommendations. Introduction. The fast-paced work environment had evolved traditional leadership over time. With globalization, the modern demand of work is not just simply about technical skills but also requires intangible traits that sometimes very difficult to define despite of being obvious. Although many professionals can recognize this EP when they see it, they still find this to be hard to define and describe. As an emergent topic in the field of management, few studies and literatures have attempted to define what executive presence is all about. Using quantitative techniques, this study aimed to demystify the perspectives of Filipino managers about EP, how they differ across certain demographic groups and how it can be further simplified based on the dimensions of EP outlined by Dagley and Gaskin, 2014. Framework. This study is anchored on the description of executive presence by Dagley and Gaskin, 2014. This is the theoretical framework used to understand how perspective will differ from a Filipino manager standpoint. The 10 characteristics of executive presence were divided into 2 sections. The first set of characteristics were impression-based, namely status and reputation, physical characteristics, projected confidence, communications and interpersonal skills. While the latter group were characteristics that can be evaluated such as interpersonal behavior, values and action, power use, intellect and expertise and outcome delivery, Dagley and Gaskin, 2014. Methodology. A survey was conducted using an expanded instrument of Dagley and Gaskin, 2014, to understand executive presence on another cultural context. The target sampling population were Filipino supervisors and managers working with various large private and public organizations with asset size of greater than PHP 100 million. Convenience sampling was used with total 102 Filipino professionals participated in the survey. Content and face validity of the instrument were reviewed by 2 expert psychometricians and 1 statistician. Reliability test of the instrument resulted to a Cronbach alpha of 0.97. Scope limitation. One of the key limitations of this study is the sample size. Expanding the sample size, using probability sampling and employing this study as a national survey can also reinforce how findings can be more strongly conclusive. Results. Filipino managers believed that impression-based characteristics such as status and reputation, projected confidence, communication ability and engagement skills contribute to a greater extent on a person's executive presence, greater than 50%. Meanwhile, on physical appearance, proper grooming is more important relative to other physical attributes. Having a tall height, having good looks, being physically fit and good body posture do not significantly impact a person's executive presence. For evaluation-based EP characteristics, Filipino managers believe that interpersonal integrity, values and action, intellect and expertise and outcome delivery contribute to a greater extent on a person's executive presence, greater than 50%. Contrary to the findings of Dagley and Gaskin, use of coercive power does not significantly impact, less than 50%, a person's executive presence. It was also noted perspective does not significantly differ across gender, management level, age and working experience. Lastly, exploratory factor analysis, EFA, revealed that there are only 24 out of 57 sub-characteristics of executive presence remained and can be simplified into three new dimensions, namely authentic interpersonal engagement, leadership horsepower, and appearance. Discussion. One key observation is that Filipino managers do not believe that use of coercive power is a significant component of executive presence. One potential explanation of this deviation is that Filipino culture values pakikasama. This was identified by Lynch as cited by P. Pua and Protasio Marcelino, 2000, as a Filipino value, translated as having smooth interpersonal relations, by going along with the group or the majority decision, for example having conformity and consensus. Another potential explanation of this cultural difference can be noted on Hofstede, 2011, Cultural Dimension Model, Individualism versus Collectivism. Hofstede, 2011, argued that individualism on the one side versus its opposite, collectivism, as a societal, not an individual characteristic, is the degree to which people in a society are integrated into groups. On the individualist side, it was found that cultures in which the ties between individuals are loose. Filipino culture tends to fall more on the collectivist side of Hofstede cultural dimension. It was also argued that for collectivism relationship prevails over task, which is more apparent in Filipino cultures, Hofstede, 2011. Lastly, the three new dimensions of EP can be used to develop a more simplified instrument to measure someone's executive presence. Recommendations. For practice. Having a deep understanding of what executive presence is all about can help a professional's career in terms of leadership and career progression. Once a more concrete definition of EP has been sought, designing and developing of a more targeted and practice-oriented training about EP is also one of the recommendations of this study. This will help professionals to be equipped of the information necessary to achieve presence. For future research. Developing instrument to scientifically measure a person's executive presence so further causal study can be done as a more extensive study on this space. Further qualitative research to supplement current EP definition can also be done, as it was found out that there are certain additional characteristics of EP that may not be fully captured in the literature. Lastly, EP can be connected to certain personality models via further quantitative study, to understand whether there are certain characteristics that are already inherent to a person's personality or whether this can be further developed along. Overall, understanding executive presence can help business professionals to know what are the important traits that can be a key for future career development. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.